And that actually brings us right to this chapter where we're going to dive headfirst into another huge one, faith itself. What is it really? Is it just blind belief, like some folks say? Or is there something more to it? In fact, faith is something we all use every single day, not just in the religious sense. Think about it for a second. When you sit out in a chair, you're exercising a certain degree of faith that it will hold you. You don't pull out a calculator to check its weight capacity or anything. You just trust that it'll do its job. Or how about this? You get on an airplane, trusting the pilot to get you safely to your destination. Yeah, we might not understand all the ins and outs of aerodynamics or anything like that, but you have faith in the pilot's skill and the plane's ability to fly. These are everyday acts of faith, and they're based on evidence and experience. We've seen chairs hold people before. We know planes generally stay in the air. So our faith isn't coming from thin air. It's grounded in something real. And you know what? Even science relies on faith. That might sound surprising, but hear me out. Scientists have faith in certain fundamental principles that can't actually be proven, but they're essential for scientific inquiry to even begin. Take, for example, the belief that the universe is ordered, that there are laws of nature governing how things work. That's not something you can prove with 100% certainty, but it's a foundational belief for science. Or the idea that our senses give us accurate information about the world around us, another act of faith. We can't step outside of our own perception to prove that our senses are always reliable. We have to trust them to do science at all. So we see that faith, in a broader sense, is about trusting in something we have good reason to believe, even if we don't have absolute proof. It's a starting point, a foundation upon which we build our understanding of the world. Now, when we talk about biblical faith, it's a bit different, but it builds on this same principle. Biblical faith is trusting God and his promises backed up by evidence. But what exactly is that evidence? That's where things get really interesting. Well, first and foremost, we have the Bible itself. Now, I know some people might roll their eyes at this, but stick with me for a minute. This book, despite being written over centuries by all these different authors, it has this incredible internal consistency and it's historically accurate, and it even contains prophecies that have been fulfilled over time. That's got to count for something, right? Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a strong starting point. The sheer longevity and influence of the Bible, I mean, it really speaks volumes. So, what else would you point to as evidence? Then you have the whole issue of Jesus's miracles. We're talking about healing the sick, raising the dead, even coming back from the dead himself. These weren't just, private events or anything. They were witnessed by many people, and they're pretty tough to just explain away, if you're not willing to at least consider the possibility of the supernatural. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those miracles, they clearly had a profound impact on the people who saw them firsthand, and they continue to inspire people today. But what about those who haven't had that kind of firsthand experience? What would you say to them? That's where personal experience comes in. And I know this is tricky because it's not something you can necessarily prove to someone else, right? But for countless believers, the change in their own lives, answered prayers, that feeling of God's presence, these are incredibly powerful forms of evidence for them, right? It's that direct personal encounter that often solidifies faith. It goes beyond the intellectual arguments and becomes a lived reality. Okay, so we've got the Bible itself, the accounts of Jesus's miracles and personal experiences. What's the overall takeaway here? How do these pieces fit together? For me, it all comes down to this. Biblical faith isn't about blindly ignoring reason. It's about adding another whole dimension to our understanding of the world. Think of it this way. Our senses, they give us this kind of 2D picture of reality, right? But faith, by trusting in God's word, it adds that third dimension. It gives us this richer, more complete picture. Well, first off, I'll admit there have been times when religion's been misused, to control people, manipulate people, and that's just wrong, plain and simple. But I think true faith, genuine faith, it's something totally different. It's not about control at all. It's about transformation. It's about this personal encounter with God that changes you from the inside out. So it's not about escaping reality, but about experiencing a deeper, more authentic reality.